Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're taking a look at 10 of the worst joke characters in fighting game history. Look, you can like them however you want, but that doesn't mean they're great for competitive play.
Just proves it's not enough to look good on the outside if you're rotten on the inside.
Before we begin, we publish new videos all week long, so be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Dan Hibiki, Street Fighter series.
Are you okay?
No one.
Huh?
No new applicants! Not one!
Yes, we know you Dan fans are all out there, all 9 of you. We understand that Dan is a great joke character in concept and narrative. We also know that Dan is a much more viable contender in the newer Street Fighter games. But in the old days, Dan was absolutely the pure definition of joke character in how intentionally awful his moveset was. He truly was a weaker, lamer version of Ryu and Ken with his pathetic range and spitball of a Hadouken. We'll admit this though, pulling off the dance is probably the most satisfying super to pull off in fighting game history. So, we're not going to give him too much crap. He sucks, but he doesn't suck in the newer games. Mokap, Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. Mokap is one of those joke characters you can kind of take or leave. When you look at him as a way to immortalize Carlos Piscina, the martial artist and actor for Raiden in the original Mortal Kombat games, well, it's cool. But when you look at Mokap from a gameplay perspective, why would anybody choose this guy? While the motion capture performer borrows several moves from various combatants, none of them mesh together well enough to string into one another, let alone serve as combo enders. He's simply too awkward to use, which can make fighting stronger opponents feel more like an uphill battle with no end in sight.
Finish him! Wins.
Pichu, Super Smash Bros. Melee. In the mainstream fighting game scene, no joke character has been as notoriously abysmal as Pichu here. Well, except for our final entry, but we'll get to her in a minute. Adorable as it may be, Pichu is nothing more than a worse Pikachu clone. You've got the Thunder, you've got the Thunder Jolt, you've got Skull Bash, and Agility. However, every single time you use one of those specials, Pichu gains damage. On top of that, just about every single character can launch Pichu off the stage with very, very little effort. That said, if you desperately want to main Pichu, our advice is to play in Smash Ultimate instead. The little mouse isn't as bad there compared to its debut in Melee. Or, if you think it can get away with copying that one dude who cheated in Melee for the longest time. But we're not going to talk about that. Hercule, Dragon Ball Budokai series.
You're all washed up!
Now, for those of you wanting to lean heavily into the joke aspect of joke characters, then sure, Hercule is the guy you want to yuck it up with. In a game where Saiyans and aliens are beating the snot out of each other and dealing devastating damage to each other, Hercule can't come close to their power levels. His punches barely make a dent, barely even make him flinch, and even if you execute a lengthy combo, it's not enough to gain the advantage in a fight. In other words, Hercule is going to make you literally sweat throughout a match just so you can keep up with your opponent. Maria Renard, Castlevania Judgment.
What? I get a present? Okay, I'll take your test.
Say what you will about Castlevania Judgment, it's an awful spin-off, it's the start of Konami's darkest age, it's the total botch of the classic Castlevania cast, we've heard it all before. But of the entire roster, Maria Renard is absolutely horrible as a joke character. Her entire playstyle leans into her personality of being inexperienced and an awkward and clumsy teenager. Spells will sometimes mess up, and even if you do execute them perfectly, they are all so easy to avoid that it makes Maria a useless fighter. Admittedly, she isn't the worst character in the game, but as a joke character, she's still awful, man.
Good boy, Asuka!
Norimaro, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. It's kind of obvious why Norimaro was removed from the Western release of MVSF. In case you don't know who he is, Norimaro was a character performed by Japanese comedian Noritake Kanashi in the 90s. And no, he had absolutely no ties to Marvel or Street Fighter prior to this game. So why is he here? Well, Norimaro was only put into the game because the team at Capcom were just fans of Kanashi's work. True story. And that's all well and fine, but when he plays this badly, he's funny, but the problem with Norimaro is that he barely makes any meaningful damage in even a hyper combo. So yeah, you can laugh at the goofy moves he puts on display, but competing with him as one of your fighters is metaphorically a death sentence. Viking, Chicken, Clown, Pumpkin, and Nurgling, the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy. Imagine going through the story mode with every single character and playing a crap ton of versus matches only to find out that you have now unlocked the 4 NPC enemies that you've been beating senseless the entire game. The Viking, the Chicken, the Clown, the Pumpkin, and the Nurgling are your final rewards for doing just about everything in the game. And they all suck. Each character only has 2 attacks, and of them all, only the Viking is considered to be the top tier character, which, how does that even happen? Everyone else is either too slow or too big of a target to be considered worthy contenders, and none of them are fun to play, except for Viking. It's funny cheesing your friends just by mashing B. Ponygon, Zatch Bell Mamoto Battles. The thing about joke characters, right, is that they are intentionally designed to be horrible. Why? Because it's funny. I know I've been giving crap to a lot of these characters, but in the end, a lot of these characters are funny. But in the case of Ponygon, it is a vastly different story. If you played the North American version of Zatch Bell Mamoto Battles, you've probably noticed that Ponygon is the only character in the entire game who does not have a human partner and therefore cannot utilize spells. Believe it or not, there is a reason behind this. At the time of release, American audiences had not yet received every English episode of the ancient Mamoto arc, and thus had not finished Ponygon's story in that arc. So, to prevent spoiling the story, the North American version of Mamoto Battles had Ponygon's human partner removed from the game. Problem is that, like I said earlier, Mamotos need humans to execute their spells. And so, without a human partner available, Ponygon was essentially bumped all the way down to F tier, all for the sake of avoiding spoilers. Blarney, Xenophage Alien Bloodsport.
Round 1, fight.
Whoever's idea it was to put a parody of Barney the Dinosaur deserves a raise. And then maybe a boot out of the studio because there is no reason to play the dino for more than 5 minutes. Don't get us wrong, Blarney is one of the funniest parody characters we've seen in gaming. However, he is just downright abysmal. All he can do is move back and forth while spamming a single bloody heart projectile. Get him down once, and he's basically done for. Just keep spamming whatever move you can, and you'll win. You'll just be able to exploit your best move and kill him off in just a few short seconds. Kind of a shining example of how intense the Barney hatred was throughout the 90s though. But there is one fighting game character, one joke character that will forever be known as the worst punchline in the annals of fighting game history.
Victory!
Roll, Marvel vs. Capcom series. Roll, the little girl who is so horrendous at fighting that any MVC player puts her in her own bottom of the barrel tier, the roll tier. Roll's entire design is akin to Dan, where her moveset is just Mega Man's, but significantly worse. Her hyper combos are a bit shorter, she does less damage, she takes more damage than almost any other character on the roster too. Servbot may have her beat, but you get what I'm saying. Roll is simply the most useless character to ever appear in a fighting game, and it's hard to imagine that notoriety ever going to anybody else.
You win.
Tell us, have you tried any of these joke characters for yourself? I have actually tried just about every single one of these. They are torment. It's funny beating the final boss as, say, Roll, but still torment. But let us know what you think down in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays for more great videos every day.